Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to do a deck profile on this new Gold Paladin deck. So this is the Stride base Gold Paladin deck featuring the new Sunrise, Rain Knight, Gurguit. So a lot of people, I've been watching a lot of deck profiles on people trying to build this deck, and in my opinion, a lot of people, with a few exceptions, I'm not going to call out any names, but most people don't seem to be able to grasp how this deck's supposed to be played properly. So I decided to put the deck together, and it's actually really fun. This is actually my absolute favorite Gold Paladin deck ever. It's way more fun than Bluish Flame. It's way better than the original Liberators, in my opinion. I like the overall playstyle. So what they did with Gold Paladins this time around is they made them more of a defensive style deck that when it's your turn, when they stride, they have the potential to go on the offense, and then when it's the opponent's turn, they become very tanky and defensive. So anyone who's played MMOs, the concept of the tank, this deck is literally the definition of that. So, to start off here, I am running 4 Sunrise, Rain Knight, Gurguit. If you want to focus on Stride and the GB2 skill, you need to really run 4 of this guy. 3, I would say, is the minimum, depending on what your other grade 3 lineup is going to be. But for me, I went with 4 Gurguit. Gurguit is just amazing. The GB2 skill, for once, there's actually a really good defensive skill, similar to how Shirayuki is. In a way, it's kind of helps get you extra guard without having to expend too many cards in your hand. When you stride over him, you get to look at the top. You can counterblast 1, look at the top 4 cards, and then Superior Call a Gold Paladin to R, and then it gets plus 2,000. So really good. This is really the main card you want to ride first, but if you don't, the best alternate is Grand Ezel Scissors. So he is not a Liberator. He came out last year in Brilliant Strike. He's just overall the best one because, honestly, probably one of the toughest matchups for this deck is Link Joker, because this deck does it doesn't have a lot of attack power except when you're striding. And even then, it's still relatively easy to block. So if you're up against Link Joker and they mess up your 2 columns, Ezel Scissors is a good way out of that. So just anti-Link Joker. And then I am running a 1 tech copy of Blazing Lion Platina Ezel. Just in the event where you can actually manage to pull off the Ultimate Break, he can still end games with his Ultimate Break skill. You just kind of have to get lucky. So it's kind of a hard effect to pull off because it's Ultimate Break, and you do have to spend 3 counterblasts, which is very unlikely in a deck like this that has a lot of counterblasts. So I may actually change him to a 4th Grand Ezel, but I just wanted the variety, just the extra copy like that, because most of the time, in most of your matchups, you're just going to stride him away as stride fodder. So unless it's Link Joker, or unless you know you can close out that game by rewriting and getting his Limit Break skill, it's not really going to be used. Gurgit's really the way to go. For grade 2s, next I am running 4 of the Holy Mage Proel. This thing is the GB1 when it's boosted at Text of Vanguard, counterblast 1 call. Look at 3 cards, call Gold Paladin to R. Nice thing about it doesn't have to be open R, so you can technically get a 4th battle in with this. And it's a relatively low cost to call a card from the top of the deck. So it's very Gold Paladin style, and I just like it overall, so I recommend running 4. Next, I am running 4 Knight of Far Arrows Saphir. Saphir came out back when Season 3 Set 10 came out, and he was an interesting card. No one was using him, but finally this deck is a deck that can actually utilize him to the full potential. He is basically the unflip engine, and he soul charges. So a natural fit in this deck, because Gurguit tends to, he superior calls and he gives it 2k. So this being an 8k body, on the stride turn, this is going to hit the field at 10k. It's going to unflip and soul charge. His GB2 skill is Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. So the Soul Blast, he fills a soul. Also, he helps Ezel fill up the soul for the exact same reason, and he unflips. So he can actually help you get these guys' effects off later. So that's the main reason why I run 4 copies of him. The 8k body is not that big of a deal, because like I said, usually he'll get called from the deck, and he'll be 10k that turn on the offense, and then when it's the opponent's turn, you'll intercept him off anyway, so just to open up space for the next card. Typically, this deck guards from the deck, or no, yeah, it guards from the deck and guards from the field, and it doesn't guard from the hand that much during mid and late game, with the exception of perfect guards from the hand and stuff like that. And then next, the tech choice that I went with is 3 Sacred Guardian Beasts, Nemean Lion. So people may not recognize this card. This is the original Gold Paladin trial deck Superior Interceptor card. The other one that came out in the Liberator trial deck was Zoom Down Eagle, but they only came with 2 copies, whereas the first one had 4. So I just ran 3 of him. This is, honestly, I was playtesting lots of different grade 2s, and really the best choice, in my opinion, is either this or that promo that can top deck another card on the field, or the 10k vanilla. The 10k vanilla is actually pretty good as well. We'll get into examples of why, but this is actually a deck that can really utilize Superior Interceptors better than any other deck before it, just because of the way the on-stride skill makes this a 10k, so with a 6k boost behind that swing at 16 or more, and then you just intercept him off on the opponent's turn, and he typically draws attacks away from your Vanguard if you have one early, making the deck even more tanky and making you take less damage early on. So that's why I'm running 3 of those, but the 10k vanilla is probably the second best choice in my opinion. So if you're going to run 4 of these, you might as well run just 3 more, so you have lots of 8k, but like I said, it's Gold Paladin. They're going to spam the field anyway, and it won't be that big of a deal. For grade 1s, required, Sentinel is the original Perfect Guards. You can run the Liberator ones, or the Shield Mark, or the Bluish Flame Liberator one. But as long as it's not the new one, it must be the old one, because Gurguit can literally top deck one of these with his GB2 skill, and then Perfect Guard, discard one from the hand, and then you just blocked Diablos right there. Or you just blocked Gillis to Rise, or any kind of, or CEO Yggdrasil. He just straight up blocks it for just literally 1 card from the hand with his skill. So that's why this is a must-do. If you're trying to build this deck to be as competitive as possible, you must run 4 of the original Perfect Guard. It's required. Your unflip engine, like I said, is going to be Saphir, so that's already taken care of. Moving on to the other grade 1, for Selemy, Slamy. Slamy is the GB1 6k for the deck. It's actually a very good card for this deck. It fits right in, because what it does is GB1, when the opponent attacks at the beginning of the guard step, so meaning before you call things from your hand to Guardian Circle, you can choose to retire this card from the field, and then look at the top 3 cards from the deck and call one of them onto the Guardian Circle. So literally, like I said, it's another way to get one of these for free, essentially, from the deck. So I've actually seen this card. This card has actually Sentinel blocked a Gillis to Rise twice, causing me to win the game, and also this guy used it to block Diablos 1 time. So just going along with the whole theme of the deck, it's a big tank, and the deck is basically invulnerable most of the time. Next, for Stride Fodder, this is also a required 4 copies, because the deck, when it's the opponent's turn, the deck turns into basically a Phalanx, and it's a giant armored tank that they can't get through. But then when it's your turn and you stride, they open up and they go on the offense. So 4 of this is a must, as well as 8 grade 3s. And then 2 of the 8k vanilla. 2 just because when you on stride, you can call this as a 10k boost or even a 10k attacker. And just the fact that 2 of them, Superior called, can form 16 or more. And because of all the 8k grade 2s, particularly these guys, usually you'll want to try to call one of these always on the left or the right side, so that you'll always be able to form a 16 line in the event where you're not able to stride that turn. So 2 of these, it's the best open spot. I've seen people run the The Unflipper, the 5k Soul Blast 2 Unflip 2, that is not needed in here. You definitely don't want that. It's really weak. It can't form proper lines, and because this card is required, there's really no need for that. So 2 8k vanilla, it's just really good. Even if you have to ride it early, it can stop the first rush, block with a 10, etc. For the trigger lineup, 4 stand triggers, the new GB1 stand, because it can recycle itself back into the deck, and it gives 5k. Next, I am actually having to proxy something for now. This is supposed to be Flame of Victory, so that's why it's the 4k thing here. But you really want Flame of Victory in here, just because it can go into Soul. It can give 3k to your 8k grade 2s if you're trying to make a final push, make them swing for 11, and it can fill the Soul for his defensive skill or Ezel's skill. So yeah, Flame of Victory is really required in my opinion. And then 4 more critical. This is just the new Air Raid Lion, and then the new heal Pharmacy Witch. And then the starter is Rising Lionette, because you don't want to use the counterblast early. You want to save your counterblast. Even though if you're up against Kagura or someone, they retire this. It doesn't matter, because the counterblast for the on-stride skill is way too important. So you're not going to run grade 3 searchers or things that will randomly top deck one card, which might actually be a heal trigger or something that you don't want on the field. So that's why this is actually the best starter for this deck. It's a very formal lineup in terms of what it can use. Another card I've seen people play, which does not fit in here, is Dindray. Dindray is basically the Swordbreaker clone. Don't run Dindray in here because, like I said, Ezel and Gurguit need the Soul. You don't ever want to find yourself in a position where you cannot use either one of their skills in late game, because that's the purpose of the deck, is to be able to use your Vanguard skills, and Dindray really conflicts with that. So that's why we don't run Dindray. For the Stride deck, it's 2 Golden Dragon, Spearcross Dragon. People have been asking me if they should run 4 or 2. Obviously 2 is the correct answer, because the deck is so counterblast heavy, you will never be able to call this out more than 2 times, unless you're up against an opponent that failed on 2 G assists and he stuck at grade 0, and then you're just gonna win anyway. So 2 Spearcross Dragon is enough. I've actually found myself using this. Usually what you want to do is you want to stride 2 times and do this on the 3rd stride, or you can actually do this on the 2nd stride, which is actually the most common one. But 2 of this is enough. I've actually found myself having to use this as 1st stride 1 time just to build up a field, because the opponent destroyed my starter and destroyed a bunch of other stuff. So I had to use this to call 1 guaranteed call, and then this guy was able to call more stuff from there. So 2 Spearcross, 1 Golden Dragon, Scourge Point Dragon. I really actually recommend running 3 of this. 3 of this I think is the optimal number, but I unfortunately only have 1 right now. But otherwise it would be 3. And then I do have 4 first Fast Chase Golden Knight Campbell. Campbell is also really good. 2 copies of this is really good. So typically the lineup would be 2 Spearcross, 3 Point Dragon, and 2 of this. Or actually, you could even do 3 of this and 3 of that, or 4 of that and 2 of this. But I kind of think 3 and 3 and 2 would probably be best lineup, just because you typically stride 3 to 4 times per game on average with this deck, because striding is really, really important. But overall, Scourge Point Dragon is probably the MVP out of all the stride units. It's the most useful one, because this card makes the deck strong when it's your turn. Otherwise, your deck is just kind of weak and underpowered, especially when you're not able to stride. So that's the main weakness of the deck. But overall, this deck is really fun. I tried to put it together the way it's meant to be played, at least based off of the style of using defensive cards to defend and block a lot of strong attacks. So let me know in the comments below what you think of Gurguit and the overall new style of Gold Paladin, the way Bushiroad built this deck, or they designed the cards. And as always, guys, don't forget to let me know what you would think, what you would actually change. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this video, stay tuned for more Cardfight Vanguard videos in the future. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.